Kia ora, welcome to Under the Checkered Flag, MotoGP edition. I'm your host Kate, and we're just going to jump right in. It's race week. It's finally here. I feel like I've been in this desert walking and I can finally see the water. We're in Qatar and PozzA and I are going to be chatting about it. We're also going to break down our favourite MotoGP liveries for the 2024 season. I do sound a little bit nasally. I got sick after visiting my nephew, who I took to the speedway, and had a great time. So just bear with my nasaliness. We are sharing our predictions. I will be keeping a little unofficial tally, so at the end of the season we can see who comes out on top. Knowing me voting for my favourites rather than anything else, you're probably going to beat me on this, but I'll start with Moto3. So in P3, I'm going with Danny Holgado, P2, David Munoz, and P1, David Alonso. What do you think? Are you similar?
It didn't go too far different. I had Holgado in third as well. David Alonso in second. And just after the testing, he looked pretty comfortable. I put RaWe in first.
That is not a bad shout. I did notice Rueda was looking really strong in testing. So, moving over to Moto 2. Now I'm definitely picking my favourites here. I have gone Jake Dixon in P3, Furman Aldeguer in P2, and I'm probably going to predict this for the entire season in the pure hope that it comes off. It's Aaron Canet in P1. He did look really strong in testing, so I'm going to, hold that out for myself.
I had Canet in third. Um, Looked pretty strong in testing, so should realistically be up there for most of the year. In second, I had Celestino Vietti. Um, he's on arguably the best variant of the Calexes, and he's usually pretty solid around Qatar, so I think he'll be up there. And first, I had Fermin Aldeguer. Um, this is obviously assuming he carries last season's form into the start of this year.
I think, yeah, looking at testing as well, Furman did look strong there, so that plus the fact we both got him on the podium, I think we're both putting a lot of faith that he will continue that form. So for the sprint, I guess I'm going a little bit spicy because I've put in P3 Pedro Acosta, the rookie. I think that he'll come out swinging, being a rookie and being a sprint. I think it will suit his riding style. In P2, I put Alex Marquez, and in P1, I put Jorge Martin.
I wouldn't say I've gone too dissimilar. But yeah, for the sprint, I had Martin in third. Um, Jen Antonio, just with how strong he looked at the end of last year, especially in Qatar, I had him second in the sprint. And taking out the first race, I think will be Banyaya, or first sprint race. In the race, I feel like you'll be happy with this. I had Brad Binder in third. I feel like he's generally better in the races than he is in the sprints. Um, then top two, I had Banyaya in second and Jorge Martin for the win.
I would be very happy with Brad Binder in P3, but I have to admit I haven't put him there. I've put Marc Marquez in P3 just because I guess it's a little bit of copium. I don't even have Brad Binder on my podium, which kind of sucks because I still want him for the championship. In P2, I put Pecco Bagnaia, and in P1, I've gone with Alex Marquez again, just because we know Grassini are quite strong at Qatar, and I think if one of the Marquez brothers is going to win, I think it's going to be Alex rather than Mark, so we'll see. Realistically, you may have the more stable predictions, I suppose, but only time will tell. So, what do you listening think? Do you think PozzA's right? Do you think I'm right? Or do you have your own predictions? Do let us know in the comments or direct messages. Nearer the end of the year, once we've found our nice little routine, we will be doing giveaways and prizes. So, getting in that zone, it will probably be a giveaway for if anyone predicts all 3 classes of the podium correctly. I'm thinking it's going to be little miniatures, the 1:18 little bikes that you can get. Both PozzA and I collect them. Admittedly, he has a much, much larger collection than me. I'm not jealous at all, not at all. But we'll probably be doing some giveaways of those. So do let us know your predictions in the comments below or direct messages. But now, moving on to our livery ratings. If you are watching this on video format, I'll have some pretty pictures up on the screen for you as always. So, starting off with Gresini Ducati. I'm actually not a fan. Not at all. I just think it's a little bit boring. I understand they didn't want to bring in something like bold just because Mark was coming in, especially because he may just be there for a year. But overall, I don't really like the blue and the red combination, so I've gone a 4 out of 10.
Just looking at mine, I feel like I've gone with a general theme of like if they haven't changed much, they're sort of around 6, 7. So for Grassini, I had them at 6. Obviously, since they've come in 2022, their bike hasn't changed that much. I still think it looks nice. But yeah. For the factory Ducati team, again following that same theme, I have them at a 6.5. I don't mind the little sort of like orangey red they've put in sort of where the number sits. I think it's pretty nice, but yeah, again, rest of the bike looks pretty much the same, which you'd expect from Ducati, really.
Yeah, I changed mine quite recently. I had them at a 5 out of 10, but I did go to 6 out of 10 purely because I'm in agreement regarding the number thing. I much prefer having that different shade of red behind the numbers rather than having like this black stripe. I just think it looks so much nicer. And I also really like the change in Anea's number. Moving over to VR46. This one's probably controversial. This is the one that I think, well, maybe not the most controversial one, but a lot of people are talking about it, and they do look quite a lot like highlighters. But once I saw this livery on track, my opinion of it changed quite a bit. I've gone with a 6 out of 10 because when it is on track, it's easy and nice to see, and it doesn't look so, for lack of a better word, tacky. Because at first, just in that reveal, I definitely thought tacky, but now, not so much.
Yeah, when it first came out, I honestly wasn't that much of a fan. But even before it was on track, it did start to grow on me, and it's honestly one of my favorites out of the lot. I think the yellow looks really nice and complements the white quite a bit, like quite well. So I had that one at an 8 out of 10. New team for this year, Trackhouse. Obviously with a very American inspired livery. Um, I like the red, white, and blue sort of combination together just in general. I think it looks quite nice, so I had them at a 7 out of 10.
We may be biased because our flags are also red, white, and blue. Um, but yeah, new team, and I did want to see something new and different. They've definitely come in with something new, different, and they will definitely be easy to spot with, you know, the flag livery. I do think the fact that it's that cute little nod, I suppose, to Nikki Hayden is quite a positive touch. But all in all, it still feels a little bit cliche, so I've gone with a 6 out of 10. Moving over to Gas Gas. This is probably my second or third favorite bike. Just the simple addition of that Red Bull sponsorship has really broken the bike up. I found it a bit too red last year, and this year I just really like it a lot more. So I've given it an 8 out of 10.
Um, when the Gas first came out, I honestly really liked it. As you said, the addition of the Red Bull stripe that sort of breaks up the red, I think it looks really nice. Um, the only thing that I'd change on the current bike is changing the winglets back to either the Red Bull colors or just black. But I had them at a 8.5 out of 10. Moving on to Yamaha. Um, not a lot to say about this, same as pretty much the last 5, 6 years. Um, sticking with that theme of the same looking liveries from last year in the same sort of range, I had them at a 6.5.
You've been quite generous there compared to me. I think because this livery has stayed the same for so long, and the fact I don't particularly like it in the first place is what made me rate it so low. I rated it a 4 out of 10. It's my bottom rated along with Grassini. I just think they can do so much more with those colours, and given where they are in the championship, basically being last, it just uninspires me in a way. And I guess I'm also a little bit worried about them because they also did the, livery launch in the paddock just before Sepang, and it felt a little bit cheap. So, yeah, maybe that also contributed to the rating. Not too sure. But over to KTM. I'm going with an 8.5. I know it hasn't changed much, but it's still one of my favourite ratings, one of my favourite liveries, just because of the bull placement, and it's basically like Jack Miller and Brad Binder are riding the bull, and I just find that so entertaining. So 8.5 from me.
I had the exact same rating, 8.5, pretty much the exact same reasons. Um, as much as it is still the same livery they've used since essentially they came in, um, I think it is probably one of the best overall. Um, yeah, I feel like it's one of those situations where if it's not broken, you don't need to fix it. So yeah, I have that one at an 8.5. Moving on to Repsol Honda, probably one of the more different ones from last year. Um, obviously dropping sort of the orange, white, and red as the main color and making it the sort of darker blue. Um, I don't think it's too bad. I feel like it probably could have been a little bit better, but I had it at a 7.
I've gone 1 point higher than you with an 8 out of 10, partly because I didn't think it was going to be changing this dramatically, and partly because it's been so long that they were running that old livery, like so long. When I saw it, I was just a bit in awe and shock at the fact that they had changed it. I do like the fact that the big blue stripe in the middle just says Honda, and previously Repsol was the big branding, and I'm hoping that sort of signals a shift away from Repsol Honda and more the fact that this is a Honda and they're proud of the bike again. Maybe that's just because I want them to be proud of the bike again rather than it being an absolute shitbox, but it could just be copium. But moving on to LCR Castro, I love it. I absolutely adore it. Without a doubt, it's my favourite. It's sort of a mixture of that old retro green livery but with a younger, fresher touch. I've got a 10 out of 10. I absolutely adore the colours, and I do wish that two bikes are running this rather than just the one. But I can't have everything. What do you think?
I've been told by basically everyone so far, uh, that I don't really appreciate this bike that much. Um, I don't mind it, but I just feel like on last year's bike, the green and the red were a bit more sort of like bright and vibrant, and just in general, I don't really like dark, darker colors. But I don't mind it. It's pretty good. Obviously, Castrol liveries have been quite iconic over the years, so I had it at a 7.5.
I do actually wonder if it's also because you're quite young that you may not appreciate it as much because it's still quite a nod to the older Castrol liveries. But that's just a thought.
It's probably something like that. Um, anyway, on to the other LCR bike, the Idemitsu livery. Obviously with Taka Nakagami. This is another livery I feel like throughout the years has only gotten like sort of minor changes. Um, Again, not too much different from last year, so I added a 6.5.
Yeah, this livery, I don't really know how I feel about it. I do think they could incorporate some more gold into it because I know they do run gold branding at Idemitsu, and I think that could really make it pop a bit more because I do think it's a bit bland, I suppose. That being said, I've given it a 7 out of 10 because it's kind of iconic. It's not overloaded with sponsors, and overall, it's, yeah, quite clean and tidy looking, and I do enjoy that. Over at Aprilia, we did see them showing some changes, not dramatic changes. I do like the addition of the purple and the placements that it's put in. I've gone with a 6.5 out of 10 though, just because it still feels a little bit too stripy for me, I suppose.
Um, yeah, again, it's sort of in that mix of the bikes that don't really change year on year. But I don't mind it. I think it looks pretty decent. Some of the placement of the logos is pretty good, so I had that at A7. Moving on to the final team now, the Pramac Ducati. Um, Obviously looks pretty much the opposite to last year, getting rid of the white, replacing it with all the black. I think it looks nice, but um, even the Pramac livery before they brought the purple in was personally my favorite that Pramac's ever run. Um, and I think the white and purple still worked pretty well together. But yeah, I added a 7.5.
I did struggle with rating Pramax, mainly because, like you, that blue and red livery is the one I sort of wanted to compare it to, and I definitely prefer the blue and red. But in terms of the white and purple, I actually really love the black and purple and red. And my notes just say villain era vibes because that is exactly what I'm getting. And in my brain, I'm just like, oh, yes, it's Primo Pramac saying, we're going to win this championship now and be the villain beating the factory. And I'm just giving it this backstory to justify my 9.5 rating for this livery because it's really grown on me quite a lot. And yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing it on track, which, considering we've only seen it at night, it may look absolutely terrible in the daylight. But I don't know. Now, time zones are going to be an absolute killer for us down under fans. MotoGP action, as always, I say MotoGP, I mean Moto3, all the way up to MotoGP. The action starts at midnight my time and doesn't finish until about 7 a.m. Did the smart thing this year by getting the day off. Unfortunately, PozzA is not so fortunate and he does have school afterwards. So, yeah, that reminds me that he's just a youngling in this world and I am basically an old maid. But I'm okay with that because it means I'm financially stable and can take the day off work when MotoGP is absolutely going to ruin my sleep schedule. Now, between PozzA's school schedule, my work schedule, and my volunteer firefighting, we've made the decision to move from our regular Mondays over to Tuesday mornings for uploading these, purely just so that I can have that little bit extra time editing so we can get some more pretty pictures on screen for you guys. And also, with the season about to start, I'll be adding those short clips, so it gives me that little bit extra time. So from next week, we will be here every week on Tuesdays rather than Mondays. So next Tuesday, we will be back after the first race of the season. It feels like it has been far, far too long. I'm ridiculously excited to see all the action in Qatar, and we will give a breakdown of everything we saw across the 3 classes. So until then, like and subscribe and have a great week.